Hi everyone. The wind whispers through an endless forest, a strange light buried beneath the earth, and a boy who was never meant to find it. Somewhere between the stars and the soil lies a secret that could change the fate of our world. This is the core of Aeloria. Put on your headphones and let the story begin.
The wind whispered through the endless canopy of green, carrying with it the earthy scent of damp moss and wildflowers. Sunlight filtered down in scattered shafts, dappling the forest floor like liquid gold. Somewhere far above, a hawk cried out, its voice echoing across the deep expanse of the ancient woods. No one walking through the forest that day could have guessed that buried deep beneath layers of soil, roots, and time itself, something beyond imagination lay waiting. It had been there for millions of years, long before these trees existed, before humankind took its first breath. The thing was silent, patient, like a heart that had stopped beating, but never truly died. It had fallen from the sky in an age when the Earth was young. The meteor had blazed like a burning star as it tore through the planet's atmosphere. But it was no ordinary meteor. It was a messenger. At its heart was a sphere forged in the forges of a world so distant its sun would take thousands of years to appear in Earth's night sky. Inside that sphere was a crystal, a piece of the blue core from the galaxy of Aeloria, sent by the Aelorian people, a race older and wiser than any known to man. They had sent it with purpose, and they had sent it for someone. But time on Earth moved differently. Seasons turned, continents shifted, ice came and went, and the gift lay undisturbed. The world forgot it existed. Until, one day, a group of teenagers from a small-town high school would unknowingly wander near its resting place. It was the first warm week of spring. Ash Miller sat in the back of the bus, leaning his head against the window as the scenery blurred by. He was 16, tall for his age, with a mess of brown hair that always fell into his eyes no matter how often he brushed it back. He wasn't the kind of kid who stood out, quiet in class, a little awkward in conversation, the kind of student teachers often described as bright but easily distracted. The bus was full of chatter. Everyone was excited for the school's annual nature trip, a full day in the sprawling Greenwood National Forest. Ash liked the forest. He liked the quiet, the smell of pine, the feeling of being far away from classrooms and schedules. But he wasn't excited about being stuck in a large group of noisy classmates.
"Hey, Ash," he turned. It was Liam, his best friend since middle school. "You packed snacks, right? 'Cause I'm not about to starve out there." Ash smirked. "Pretty sure the forest is full of edible berries. You'll be fine."
"Stay together," the ranger emphasized. "This forest is bigger than it looks, and it's easy to lose your way. And please, don't wander off the marked trails."
The hike began. The teachers led the group along a wide path lined with wild ferns. Birds flitted between branches, and the air buzzed with the hum of insects. Ash stayed near the back, enjoying the quiet distance from the main cluster of students. But as they stopped for a break near a stream, he felt an odd tug, an urge to step away, just for a moment. It wasn't rebellion, it wasn't even boredom. It was something deeper, something pulling at him like an invisible thread. Without really deciding to, Ash drifted away from the group. He glanced over his shoulder. No one seemed to notice. The teachers were busy talking, and Liam was distracted taking pictures of a squirrel. Ash slipped between two massive oak trees and followed a narrow deer trail into the denser woods. The forest swallowed the sounds of the group behind him. The air grew cooler, the light dimmer. He walked for what felt like 10 minutes before he saw it, a faint, pulsing glow. It seeped up from the ground ahead, a soft blue light that shimmered through the moss and fallen leaves. It wasn't the light of the sun, or a reflection. It was something entirely unnatural. Ash froze. Every instinct told him to turn back, but curiosity, sharp, insistent, pushed him forward. He knelt beside the glow, brushing away the damp leaves. The earth here was loose, almost as if something had disturbed it recently. He dug with his hands, ignoring the mud caking under his nails, until his fingers struck something cold and metallic. It was a sphere, smooth, dark, and impossibly heavy for its size. A faint seam ran along its surface, and from that seam spilled the strange blue light, flickering like a heartbeat. "What are you?" The sphere seemed to hum in response. He turned it over in his hands, searching for a latch or a button. As his fingers brushed a small indentation, the seam widened with a soft hiss. The sphere split open. Inside was a crystal, deep blue, glowing so intensely it seemed to burn. Ash's breath caught. The light reached out toward him, not physically, but in a way he could feel. It was like the glow was alive, aware of him, pulling him in. And then it happened. The light surged forward, shooting out of the sphere and into his chest. It was as if the air had been punched out of his lungs. His vision exploded into white, and a sound like rushing water filled his ears. He felt heat and cold all at once, pressure and weightlessness tangled together. The light didn't just touch him, it went inside him, filling every nerve, every thought, every corner of his being. Ash cried out, but the sound was swallowed by the forest. Then everything went black. When Ash opened his eyes again, he was lying on the ground. The sphere was gone. The hole in the earth was just a patch of disturbed soil.
Ash! Dude, what happened? We've been looking for you for half an hour.
I found something.
The teachers arrived moments later demanding answers. No one saw the sphere. No one saw the light. They assumed he had fainted. Dehydration, maybe. They carried him back to the bus, and before he knew it, he was in a hospital bed under bright fluorescent lights. Doctors asked questions. Ash gave vague answers. How could he explain? How could he describe what had happened without sounding insane? But that night, as he lay awake, he realized something was wrong. No, something was different. He could hear thoughts. Not clearly, not like spoken words, but faint impressions, feelings, fragments, voices not his own. When the nurse entered his room, Ash knew before she spoke that she was worried about her son's math test. When the doctor checked his vitals, Ash felt the man's quiet frustration about an argument with his wife. It was overwhelming, and it was just the beginning. Ash lay in the hospital bed, staring at the dim ceiling lights, his mind spinning like a carousel that refused to stop. Every time a nurse passed in the hallway, he felt faint echoes of their thoughts, tiny bursts of emotion, sometimes words, sometimes images. It wasn't like hearing voices in his ears. It was like they were blooming directly inside his head. The first night was the hardest. By morning, the doctors declared him healthy enough to go home. Just a fainting spell, they said. Drink more water, eat properly. No one mentioned the blue light. No one even believed him when he hinted at it.
Dude, you scared the crap out of us yesterday. What happened? Thought heard by Ash. He's worried you're going to laugh at him if you tell him about the stone. What? What? Nothing.
Back at school, things didn't feel normal anymore. In the middle of class, he'd catch pieces of his classmates' thoughts. Some mundane, I'm starving, can't wait for lunch. Some oddly intimate, does she like me? Should I ask her out? Sometimes he'd accidentally react to something they hadn't said out loud, and they'd give him strange looks. It wasn't just thoughts either. He could sense emotions now, like faint colors in the air around people. Red for anger, pale blue for sadness, gold for joy. At first, Ash tried to ignore it, pretend nothing was different, but the pull of the forest kept gnawing at him. That place where he'd found the sphere, it wasn't done with him. One Saturday, when the sky hung heavy with gray clouds, Ash returned to Greenwood Forest alone. He retraced his steps past the stream, through the oaks, until he reached the spot. The ground looked untouched, as if no one had dug there in centuries. But the moment he stepped into the clearing, his chest tightened. The crystal was still inside him. He could feel it now, like a second heartbeat, faint but steady. Suddenly, the world around him shifted.
The trees seemed taller, the air sharper, colors deepened, and standing before him was a figure. It wasn't human. Tall, with skin like polished silver and eyes that glowed faintly blue, the figure radiated an otherworldly calm. You carry the core, Ash. Who? What? Kaelin. I am Kaelin of Aeloria. The stone you touched is a shard of our world's heart. It chose you. Ash. Chose me? For what? Kaelin. To finish what began millennia ago. And just like that, the figure vanished.
The weeks that followed were a blur of discoveries. Ash learned to control the voices, to tune in to a single person or block them out entirely. He found he could push thoughts into people's minds too, suggestions so subtle they believed the ideas were their own. But with power came danger. One afternoon, while walking home, Ash sensed something wrong, a burst of raw panic that wasn't his. He followed it into an alley and found a man holding a knife to another's throat. Before Ash could think, the crystal inside him pulsed. "Drop it," Ash said. The man froze. His eyes went wide, his grip slackened, and the knife clattered to the ground. He turned and ran without a word. Ash's hands shook. He had done that, without touching him, without even moving closer. He tried to tell himself to be careful, to stay out of trouble. But the visions kept coming. Glimpses of Aeloria, flashes of stars, and sometimes a shadow. A dark shape that loomed over everything, whispering in a language he didn't understand. One night, the visions became unbearable. He saw Aeloria burning, its oceans boiling, its cities collapsing. He saw Kaelin, the silver-skinned being, reaching toward him. "They are coming here, Ash, and only the core can stop them." Ash woke up drenched in sweat, the words still echoing in his mind. From that moment, he knew his life was no longer his own. The stone hadn't just given him power, it had given him a mission, whether he wanted it or not. Ash's days blurred into one another, but every night was the same. Visions. Some were peaceful. Aeloria's crystal oceans, cities that floated above the clouds. Others were nightmares, shadows stretching across stars, ships shaped like jagged blades blotting out entire suns. During the day, his senses sharpened. He could feel the heartbeat of a bird perched in a tree, detect the lies in a stranger's voice, predict the next movement of a person before they made it.
You're learning, but time is short. The Dravik fleet has already left the edge of our galaxy. They follow the core's signal.
Why me? Why not someone else? Someone stronger? The core chose you because you are unbound. Your mind is unshaped by greed or ambition. The Dravik cannot predict you. I'm just a kid. You are the guardian now, and you must be ready.
One evening, a streak of fire tore across the night sky, ending in a distant boom that rattled windows. The news called it a meteor, but Ash felt the truth in his bones. It was a scout ship.
"Core bearer," it said, "you will come with me." "Not happening! You are not ready!"
They know who you are now, Kaelin warned. The fleet will not send scouts next time. They will send war. Ash swallowed hard. Then I'll be ready.
Weeks passed. Ash balanced school with secret training, hiding his growing powers from everyone, even Liam. But the crystal was changing him. His reflexes were beyond human, his mind sharper than ever. Sometimes he caught himself thinking in symbols and sounds that weren't English, weren't even earthly. And then, one morning, the invasion came. The sky split open. Great black ships punched through the clouds, casting shadows over the city. Sirens wailed. People ran in the streets. The air itself seemed to hum with the power of their engines. Ash stood in the middle of it all, the core blazing inside him like a miniature sun. The Dravik landed in Greenwood first, drawn to the place where the core had awakened. Ash ran there, weaving through panicked crowds, his mind already reaching ahead. He could feel them, hundreds of alien minds, cold and calculating. In the clearing, the leader awaited. Taller than the scout, draped in armor that seemed alive, it carried a weapon like a jagged staff.
"You have something that belongs to us."
No, it belongs to Aeloria.
The leader struck first. Lightning-like energy crackled from its staff, but Ash raised his hand and the core answered, forming a shield of pure blue light that swallowed the attack. Then Ash pushed back. The ground shook. Trees bent as waves of energy rippled outward. Dravik soldiers staggered, some falling to their knees. Ash moved like lightning, dodging attacks, disarming enemies with bursts of force, bending the very air around him. The leader roared and charged. They clashed in the center of the clearing, staff against raw energy, gold against blue. Sparks lit the air. Ash's arms trembled under the force, but the core pulsed harder, faster, until it felt like it would burst. With one final surge, Ash unleashed everything. The blast lit the forest like daylight, a pillar of blue fire shooting into the sky. The Dravik were thrown back, their ships groaning as cracks split their hulls. One by one, the black vessels dissolved into nothing, retreating through the sky until only silence remained. When the light faded, Ash stood alone in the clearing. The core's pulse slowed, settling back into its quiet rhythm.
You have done well, Guardian, but the core will call again. When it does, you must answer.
And as he walked out of the forest, the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon. The world was safe, for now. But somewhere in the distance, among the stars, shadows still stirred. Thanks for listening to this chapter of The Core of Aeloria. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. It really helps me keep creating these stories for you. And if you'd like to go the extra mile and help me bring more adventures to life, you can support me on Ko-fi. Your support means the world to me, and it keeps the stories coming.